Okay, so we're top of Daf Vav on the base. It's a new Mishnah. Let's see the Mishnah inside. So the Mishnah is really Behemshech to the previous Mishnah. The previous Mishnah was trying to work out situations. Previous Gemara really. When the Adim, when you have more than two Adim, this is the subject over. You have more than two Adim, and we know when you have more than two Adim, so sometimes we say that they're all one set. Four Adim or one set. What's an nafkamina whether they're one set or not? There's two major nafkaminas. One is nimtza achem and karev apostle. If one of them is going to be found, karev apostle, does it invalidate all? If it's one set, so then even if one out of the four Adim are apostle for whatever reason or a relative, you're going to be mevatel whole Eidos. But if it's two sets, so who cares about that one set? You got another set of two kosher Adim. That's one thing. Another thing is going to go to Adim Zoimim. Adim Zoimim don't punish them until the whole set is Adim Zoimim. So if it's one set of four, you have to get all four Adim Zoimim. All four have to be proven to be false, to be Mona Yisem, in order to get the punishment of Kasha Zoma. Masha'en Kain, if it's two sets, so then you look at each set separately. And if there's two Adim who were found to be Zoimim, so they get punished, and the other two, it's regardless. So that's the inside. So we're kind of continuing that discussion about when it's considered one set, when it's considered two. When it's considered one set, we know that a problem with one makes the whole Eidos battle. On the other hand, for Eidim Zomim, you need to pass all of them. So let's see the Mishnah. So the Mishnah says like this: You have two Eidim looking from one window and two Eidim looking from another window. So the two, they're not together. They're not in the same place. Why the Mishnah adds this point is a point of discussion. But let's just learn that it's really a little bit irrelevant right now. It's more relevant for the Hemshech. There's one guy warning in the middle. That guy who's doing Asra is not shy for either of the two sets. So we say like this: How do you decide whether it's one set or two sets? If even what miksason, the Pashtus, the Lashon, the Mishnah means miksason means if one of the aid of one set can see one of the aid of the other set, so then that joins them together, and it's considered one eidus. The Indian nimtza achem and karev apostle. The Indian that they all have to be found zomimim, right? If they claim that they were together, then all four of them have to be found zomim to get the kashas on them. But if not, if they can't see each other, no one from one set can see the two separate two separate windows, and neither vavam base, yeah, and neither set can see, neither member of the set can see the other. So then it's two adias. And the Mishnah continues with an nafkamin. Lefichach, therefore, in the case when it's shtei adias, im nimtzes achas men zoimemes, hu v'hei neragim ashniya petura. If one of the sets is found to be zoimim, since they were separate, they didn't claim to be together, they didn't claim that they could see each other. By their own admission, they couldn't see each other. So nimtzes achas men zoimemes, if one of the sets is zoimim, hu v'hei neragim. What does hu v'hei neragim mean? Who the nidon gets killed because of the two adim who weren't proven to be zoimim, who weren't zoimim, which the kosher eidos about the nidon. On the other hand, the second set became zoimim, so they get killed. Vashniya patura, and the second set, well, the first set, shall we say, yeah, is pata. So yeah, so what are we saying over here? Yeah, in the case where it's two ADIs, so therefore, if one of the sets are found to be zoimim, then they get kasher zam on the one hand. And the nidon still gets killed because the other set was a kosher edus. What would be if it was taka in the reisha, and there'd be just tight choice in the beginning of the Mishnah when you have miksas and royin elu seilu? They taka in two separate windows, but one of the edim from one set can see one of the edim of the other set. So what would happen then? What would happen then is like this: if two of them are found zoimim, let's say one set is found zoimim, so everyone's pata. It's the exact opposite. Everyone's pata. The nidon's pata because it was like nimsachem and karv apostle. Part of the edus was thrown aside by two of them being found zoimim. On the other hand, the zoimim are not punished because you need actually a zoimim with kula. You need, right? So in a case where it's taka considered one edus and half of the four edim are found to be zoimim, so then both are going to be pata. And everyone's going to be pata. The nidon's going to be pata because there's no edus on him. Part of the edus was found to be pasul. The edim, right? The edim who were found to be zoimim don't get kasher zaman because you need a din of actually yozaim was kolam, and the other two weren't zoim. And when it's considered shtei adis, because miksas and royin elis elus, one set can see one of the other set. So then, if one set becomes zoim, the din is going to be that the set which becomes zoim gets punished. The nidon gets punished because he still has another two being made about him, and that's the din. So that's the Mishnah. By the way, there's just an extra prat because we spoke about the Masra being be'emtza. So there's some discussion about whether the Mishnah is, when it says Miksos and Roin Elus Elu, means that the Eidim see each other, or whether it's good enough even for the Eidim to see the Masra, and as long as the Masra can see both, like part of both sets, he can join them together or not. That's a discussion in the Rishonim, and it's a discussion whether it's a true din, but it's also a discussion if that's what the Mishnah is saying. But for the moment, let's just assume it's talking about the Eidim seeing each other. Now, since we mentioned the Echon Masr by the Emsa, which implied that the guy warning doesn't have to be one of the Eidim, right? You have two sets of Eidim, and just one guy who's in the middle is not shy to the other sets of Eidim. So Rabbi Yossi argues, Rabbi Yossi Oimer, Lo Oilam Ein Eragin Achi Shnei Eidim Masr. It's a separate discussion. It's not shy to the main discussion that we said earlier, whether it's one set or two sets. Here, the Machlokes Tanakama Rabbi Yossi is whether the Eidim have to be Masr or not. Tanakama says Hasra doesn't have to take place dafka by the Eidim. There's two dinim. Eidim have to testify, see that Reuven killed Shimon, and someone has to be Masra. Rabbi Yossi, says no. The two Eidim have to be the ones who are warning. You can't have someone else warning. Shenemar al pishnaim Eidim. So because it's al pishnaim Eidim, he learns from there that everything has to be done by the guy has to get killed by the word of the two Eidim, both mitzad them testifying, but also al pishnei Eidim based on their hasra. Dov, 1 second. 1 second. I'll finish the Mishnah, but I want to hear. Dova Acher, another pshat in what Al Pishnaim Eidim is, that no, that's not pshat Al Pishnaim Eidim. Shaloi Te Sanhedrin Shemas Mi Piyam Torgun. Al Pishnaim Eidim means that the Bezdin has to understand the Eidim's language. They can't have an interpreter between the Eidim and the Bezdin. Yeah, what are you saying?
You also answer this question.
Go on, which question?
The Hedek and the Nedek. They should be possible, the Edis.
Yeah, I know. How's the answer?
They weren't master.
But who says they have to be master? That's
no? The race, you know.
No. Yossi is saying there's a din that the Eidim have to be master. That doesn't mean that someone who's not master is not part of the Eidim. Two of the Eidim have to be master. I hear what you're saying.
Two people master, or has to be the two Eidim?
You're saying all the Eidim have to be master. That's what you're timing. Based on Rabbi Yossi, all the Eidim have to be master. Yeah. The pastors, everyone argues on Rabbi Yossi, and the Gemara over there is just going based on the shit of the Tanakama. Halacha taka is that the Eidim don't have to be master. I think. Yeah, but you're right.
That's also Rabbi Yossi.
You're right. Like Rabbi Yossi, huh?
That's Rabbi Yossi.
It's the same Rabbi Yossi. Ah, no, you're asking. Yeah, no, you're asking a good question. I think Tosis might ask it somewhere. No, I hear you. It's a good question. I think people ask it. Yeah, I can't remember. Okay, that's your Rashi. If one of the sets get Huzam, the loyals Makulan ain't eragim. Shaloites and Hedin Shemas Edus Eidim Piadim Torguman. Srichen Adayanish Makirim Beloshan Eidim Loy Shamidu Melech Benoich. But the excuse me. The Eidim have to be the ones to the master. Sorry, the Eidim have to be the ones talking directly to the Dayanim. You can't have interpreter. That's what Pishnei Eidim means. I think everyone agrees to this din. You know, Machlokes is with Rabbi Yossi's din whether the Eidim have to be master or not. Okay, let's see the Gemara. Amar Rav Zutzri bar Tovi Amar Rav. Rav Zutzri bar Tovi, and we're going into a different topic now. The Gemara is not going on the Mishnah. The Gemara is not trying to find the mocker for the Mishnah, but rather a related topic. Amar Rav Zutzri bar Tovi Amar Rav. Nain le'edus miyuchedes shipsula. How do we know that an edus miyuchedes is possible? What does edus miyuchedes mean? So Rashi says, I'll read it in here. Edus miyuchedes, similar to what we learned in the Mishnah, where you have two Eidim here and two Eidim there, and they don't see each other. We consider it two sets. So a similar din applies when you have one Eid by one window, one Eid by another window, and they don't see each other. Do we join them together or not? Right. So
if there's a master in the middle.
No, I hear you. Yeah. So the master, if the master can see both of them, maybe the mitzaref. Yeah, that's what Rava says later. Yeah, that's what Rava says later. Again, it depends on the pshat and Rava. So this is a discussion. For the moment, let's. Master doesn't have to be an aid according to the Tanakhama. Yeah.
But by dint of him being there and giving Hasra,
but he has to see the two Eidim. What if he doesn't see the two Eidim?
No,
Let's for the moment assume that we're talking about a case, but maybe you have a master about so the master doesn't see either of the two Eidim. They hear him. The Eidim hear the master. Each Eid sees. Huh?
What if the master is a Karev?
We'll soon see that the master doesn't have to be an aid, according to Tanakama. There's no
The
issue.
whole thing that we said in the last Mishnah was
If an aid is a Karev, it's an issue.
Zman Shehisru Bahem. When do we consider that
Yeah.
a group? When there was a shrug given from the Aiden.
But technically, you could have someone master, and then he doesn't see it, and then he doesn't see that he doesn't see this
So
exactly.
he could be a car.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to watch. Don't do it.
Yeah, you have to work out exactly how to fit this mission into the previous one. Yeah, you're right. So let's think about Amr and Rashi explains what's Eidus Muchadis mean, where you have one aid from one window, one aid from another window, and they don't see each other. And Kinira, even though the mission already established that when you have sets who don't see each other, they're not mitzaref. So why should we be mitzaref here? There's a svara to say no. When you have two Eidim alone over here and two Eidim over there, so then the question is whether we're joining them up to be one set or two sets. So then you have to be down whether they can see each other or not. But when you have one aid in one window, one aid in another, maybe you do join them together even though they can't see each other because you don't have two Eidim at all. In other words, when you so Akapanim, the Gemara says that even in such a situation, it doesn't work. Even if you have one aid by one. How do we know that Eidus Muchadis is when you have one aid by two people seeing the same event, but they're not together, they don't see each other. Shenema says in the pasuk, Lo yumas al pi eidach. Pasuk says that you don't kill someone based on one aid. So Pashtus, it means one aid is not good. So Maila, don't you think? Pashtus Pshat, one would assume, is my echad ilay me aid echad mamish. If he says mamish one aid, that can't be. Why? Mereisha Shamina, the beginning of the pasuk, he tells me apishnaim aidim. Elo my echad echad. What does echad mean? When you have two aidim, but they have one, and they're not joining together because they don't see each other. So the Gemara continues. Tani nami hachi, meaning we have a brayso mefurish which tells me this. In other words, this is in the memory of an Amora. Tani nami hachi, we have a brayso mefurish which says this, and you have to type choice. You have to lechora understand what I said earlier. You have to say something on the lines of what I said earlier. Why? What do you mean Tani nami hachi? The Mishnah already says it. The Mishnah says that two and two don't join together. So you have to lechora be mechalek, and Tosfos does in his second teretz, and one of the Tosfos over here. You have to be mechalek that the Gemara thought there was a possibility. The Mishnah is no raya, because when you have two Eidim already, and you have another two Eidim, the question is whether to see it as one set or two sets, so then you have to be down whether they can see each other. But if the only way, if you have one over here, one over here, and they can't see each other, maybe you'll join them together even though they can't see each other because you need two Eidim. So there's a brayso which says beferish otherwise, in other words, in support of Rav Zutra Batovia, that it doesn't work. Tani nami hachi lo yumas al pi eidachon. Pasuk says lo yumas al pi echad lahavi shnayim sheroyim oitz echad mechalin zeh ve'echad mechalin zeh ve'ein royin zeh zeh she'ein mitzaref. Yeah, before Shabrai said that the pasuk lo yumas al pi eidachon taka means to be marba, a case where you have two people seeing the event, but one from this window, and they don't see each other. The mitzarefin. So that's the Tani Nami Hachi. And the Brisa also is a little bit more explicit because Rabbi Zutra Batovi just says Minayin Eidus Muchadis Yipsuli. He doesn't explain what Eidus Muchadis is. We need to see Rashi to see that Eidus Muchadis means one from here, one from there. But from the Hemshcha Brisa, it's clear that that's what we're talking about. The Eidus Muchadis, Tani Nami Hachi, that we're talking about a situation where Shnayim Roy Moise Echa Mechalin Zev, Echa Mechalin Zev, Ein Royin Zev. V'loi Oid continues the Brisa. A bigger chiddush, not only when you have one guy by one window, one guy by another window, and they don't see each other. Even if you have them by one window, the same location, they ate them off together, but they're not seeing it together. In other words, we're sitting together. I'm blocking your view. I see the event, and then I walk away, and then you come and you continue to see the event. So that's l'chora bigger chiddush. That even in such a situation where you are together, the two Eidim are together, they see each other, they're just not seeing the event at the same time. The Gemara straight away challenges it with the following question. What do you mean v'loy oid? L'chora hashta if already on ma echad mechaloin zeh ve'echad mechaloin zeh hayki chazik kula ma'isa v'hayki chazik kula ma'isa amris loy mitzarfi. If already in the case where you have one by one window, one by the other, they're both seeing the whole event. They're seeing the murder, just that they're not together. They don't see each other. And yet you say that it's not a good eidos. Over here, it's even worse because each guy is only seeing half a ma'isa. Either the guy sees the murder, he doesn't see the murder. So Elamai, you're saying 1/8 saw the beginning of the murder, and the second guy saw the end of the murder. Like they're not seeing the full ma'isa. So how does it work? Yeah. In the second case, where each guy is only seeing half of the story, for sure it shouldn't work. Why are you saying it's a bigger chiddush that it's no good? It's more obvious that it shouldn't work because they're not seeing the whole thing, right? The pastors, only one of them could see the murder. How am I going to separate and say one guy saw the guy, stick the knife, take the knife out, and the other guy saw him stick it in? I mean, they're not seeing the whole Maisa. So the Gemara answers, no, we're talking about a situation of Bia. Bia takes time, and therefore each person can see the whole Maisa, right? That's what the Gemara answers. The chiddush is by boil as By boil as it's a possibility. It's not chatzi Maisa. Each person seeing the full Maisa, and therefore that's the chiddush. So let's see Rashi. Did Rashi say anything here? Eidus miuchedes we saw. Each person is seeing a full beer, seeing the full shear. Nevertheless, they're not mitzvah. But you have to explain the veloy oy now in such a way that the chiddush is that even though they're both together, right? They're both together b'shas ma'isa. The chiddush is that since they're not seeing it at the same time together, they're both present. They're one eidos. They're both seeing the whole. They're both seeing the whole ma'isa. They're just not seeing the whole ma'isa together. That's the chiddush that it's not good enough, and that's more of a chiddush than a situation where they're both seeing the ma'isa but they're not seeing each other at all. Yeah.
I mean, there's still a milus and them being in two different.
What's the ma'ila?
That they're each one sees.
They're seeing at the same time.
They're seeing the same thing.
Hey, also the same thing.
No, they're seeing the same aveda, not seeing the same thing.
Right.
Not seeing the same reading.
Yeah. Akapanim, you have to explain the veloy oy. Yeah, no, I hear it. Okay. Let's see weiter. Okay, so Amar Rav is really a new piece, and we're going to explain here too. Rav, there's a discussion whether Rav is going on the Mishnah or Rav is going just on the previous sug of Eidos Miuchedes. So I'm going to explain it to the guy that's going on the Gemara. Amar Rav im hayu royin es amasra or yamasra roy oisim mitzarfen. Rav is saying that this is what you were asking, So when you have an Eidos Miuchedes, one Eid over here and one Eid over there, they don't see each other. Says Rav, you should know that sometimes they are mitzarf when. If they see the Masra or the Masra sees them, so the Masra can join them together. The Masra sees both sets, so then it's mitzvah. V'amar Rava, and Rava said another din, which is also negated to the discussion. Masra sha'amra afilu mipi atzmai v'afilu mipi hashay. So the Masra the Masra that we said doesn't have to be the Eidim. It could even be mipi atzmai, the Haruk, the person being killed can say, "Don't kill me. If you kill me, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get skil," and that's a valid hasra. And even even if it's not a human being, even if it's a shade. In other words, there's no din that there has to be a hasra, like shemei ka'ina, it has to be like a bar chiyuva saying kiddush in order to be mighty someone. The hasra can be a shade as long as the nidain heard the hasra, that's good enough.
You have like a recording also.
Yeah, I don't know. What's me pia shade? Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
If you have like a refrigerator, everything you open up, like signal.
Maybe.
That could be outside.
But only if it's actually going on this, not just like.
Has to be real, you're saying. Has to be
Yeah,
if you do this. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe as long as there's a voice saying, if you kill, you're gonna get skila.
The human actively presses the button, presses play for the recording when the person's about to do it.
In Svara, I understand. This is like the Tanakh. Rabbi Yossi argues, right? He says that Adam have to be master. Svara, and what the role of Asra is, it makes sense. It doesn't have to be the Adam because the whole role of Asra is really two things. There's a machlokes in Tanaim, but the halacha there's two things. The Asra is number one that the person should know. The person should know that it's not allowed. In other words, you can't say I'm a mutter. You can't say I thought it was mutter. Is there a second thing in Asra? Maybe that's because Rabbi Yossi Yehuda says later.
What happens if
You do.
you do it?
Yeah.
That's also.
Maybe he doesn't know. He doesn't know the punishment. Yeah, I don't realize it's so serious. Because later he said, and what's the second reason? I think there's a second reason. There is a second reason. Okay, we'll discuss it later when we get to Rabbi Yossi Yehuda about Asra. Okay. So Amar Rava, that's okay. Amar of Nachman. So here Rav Nachman comes and qualifies. We said Eidus Miuchedes is no good. When you have one Eid by one Chalain and one Eid by another Chalain, it's no good. Says Rav Nachman, that only applies to Din in Nefashos. Din in Mominus, there's no such thing. Amar Rav Nachman, Eidus Miuchedes Ksheir b'Din in Mominus. Eidus Miuchedes, we have one Eid here and one Eid there. It's Kasher b'Din in Mominus. What's his Raya? Or what's his Makar? Shall we say? What's the source? Lo Yumas al Piyedach. Right? The pasuk where we learn Eidus Miuchedes, which is Lo Yumas al Piyedach. It says Lo Yumas. You don't kill someone. But in the Nefashos, the Ink Ksheir b'Din in Mominus. Share. But in the moment it is kasha. You can see it. Okay. Maskif la Rav Zut. Rav Zut has a kasha. If and there's different ways of learning this kasha. I'll just explain it to you. I think this is what the way Tosfos or the Ritva quotes a Tosfos. Maskif la Rav Zut, or maybe Rashi fits in with this, maybe not. But I'll just explain it my way. Rav Zut is going to ask a kasha. I'll say outside first. Rav Zut's kasha is like this. Lo yumas. If you're saying that the Eidus Miuchedes doesn't work across the board, so then I understand Eidus Miuchedes doesn't work across the board. And therefore, Eidus Miuchedes doesn't work across the board, and therefore never works. But if you're saying Eidus Miuchedes works by Dinim Mominus, so then when does it not work? By Dinim Nefashos, which means maybe the whole point is that we don't want to kill somebody. We're hesitant to kill somebody, and if we're hesitant to kill somebody, so we find chumras, right? And therefore you need the two Eidim to be in the same place. But in the case of Eidim Zoimim, that's yeah. In the case of Eidim Zoimim, how does it work? If it's an Eidus Miuchedes, if you're going to say it's an Eidus Miuchedes,
and there should only be a chumrah in only be a chumrah in a
you should never kill somebody based on. Yeah, but I just want to. I've lost my train of thought. 1 second. The way Rashi learns is like this. In other words, Eidus Miuchedes, not when you have 1 and 1. When you have 2 and 2, and they don't join together. So when you have 2 and 2 and they don't join together, so we said that if two are found Eidim Zoim, they're going to get killed. So he's saying, since we find a musag that they do join together by Dinim Mominus, they should also join together to let the Zoimim off the hook. Lo Yumas al Piyedachon means that you don't kill based on Azar type of Eidos where they're separate and they don't see each other. Then you consider it 2 Eidos. But in certain cases, we consider it 1 Eidos by Dinim Mominus. So maybe we should also consider it 1 Eidos to help the Zoimim. Right? When you have 2 Zoimim on one window and 2 Zoimim on another, that's how Rashi learns, yeah? Yeah. I get the issue that I'm thinking of now is that La Yumas al Piyed Echel to my Eidus Miuchedes. We have 1 Eid over here, 1 Eid over here. Rashi wants to use it, but when you have 2 Eidim by one Chalain, 2 Eidim by another Chalain, but they don't see each other, then in such a situation, you should say that it's considered 1 Eidos. It's considered 1 Eidos, and you're not killing the Zaymin. Let's see inside. Maskiflar. Excuse me. Maskiflar of Zotra. Elamiata b'din nefashis tatzel. By din nefashis, it should save. Alamatan hu v'hei neragin. Why do you say hu v'hei neragin? Cash. Why does the Mishnah say hu v'hei neragin that we consider it 2 separate Eiduyos? If the whole marker for this Eidim not joining together is from Lo Yumas al Piyed Echad, and by Dinim Mominus, we see that they do join together even though they don't see. So they should also join together to save the Eidim Zayim. Save the Eidim Zayim. Tak, you won't kill someone based on an Eidos which you can't see, that they can't see each other, and you have one. But when it's negate to Eidim Zayim to kill Eidim Zayim, then we should go the other direction and say yes, they do join together. And if 2 of them are found Zayim and 2 of them are not found Zayim, you don't kill the Zayim. Why do we say Huvein Aron? Kash is taka difficulty. Let's see Rashi. In general, Eidus Miuchedes is good. That we have Eidus split up and they can't see each other. But din in the Nefashos k'sheshnayim roi mechaloin zeh, shnayim mechaloin zeh. V'hus makat hachas. And one of the sets becomes Zayimim. Titztarif Eidus Zuli is kolam kikat hachas. They should join together. Lahatzeles Zayimim. That's anidus Eidus and It's not like we never find such a concept. We just don't want to say by din in nefashos. But if you're not killing somebody, if it's a din in nefashos where you're going to save the Zayimim based on joining them together, join them together. I'm just thinking to myself that the Chor Yom Sav Yedach is talking about a unique case where there's 1 Eid over here, 1 Eid over here, not when there's 2. Upon him, that's how Rashi learns.
No, but basically we're saying we're not much time for 2.
Yeah, no, that's taka the svar. Yeah. The pasuk Lo Yom Sav Yedach is the is talking about 1 Eid over here and 1 Eid over there. That's all.
No, but otherwise, what would it be saving?
Yeah, no. That the Chor has to be trying the Gemara. Yeah. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Aimer. We continue. What does Rabbi Yossi say? Rabbi Yossi says that the Eidim have to be the ones being master. So Gemara asks a kasha. Amalei Rav Papa Labai Omi is Rabbi Yossi high svara. Does Rabbi Yossi really hold to this svara that that you need to have hasra and the Eidim have to be master? Vatnan Rabbi Yossi Oima Soini Nerag Neshu Kamud Musra. Rabbi Yossi says that a soine, someone who's an enemy who kills somebody, gets killed even if you don't know whether he was amazed or not. You don't know there was no hasra because he's kamud musra. He's considered as if he's already musra. He's already had hasra. So the kasha, the pashtus is that Rabbi Yossi holds that there's certain instances where you don't even need hasra. If you don't even need hasra, then what's the svara to say that when you do need hasra, it should be dakali dayedim? If there's some sort of din miyuchad of asra, you always need to have asra. We'll soon see. Yeah, why Rabbi Yossi we're quoting says that sometimes you don't need asra. Rabbi Yossi says sometimes you don't need asra. If sometimes you don't need asra, then he's obviously going with the fact that asra is totally based on svara. And in certain instances you don't need asra, in certain instances you do. But when you do need asra, why should it be the Eidim?
So let's say there was asra, but the Aiden didn't do the asra, so it doesn't help you.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. How can you say Nikumud Musr? There's a din that the Eidim have to be master, and you don't have the Eidim being master. Exactly. Yeah, you could explain the kasha in a few different ways. But the Nikuda, the way I'm explaining it is that if Rabbi Yossi says that sometimes you don't need asra, so then when you do need asra, there's no story to say there should have to be the Eidim. Let's see Rashi. Me said Rabbi Yossi asra klal. Does Rabbi Yossi bichlal hold of asra? What's not Rabbi Yossi? A soine she'oime b'shoigig haragti. A soine who says that he's b'shoigig, that he killed b'shoigig nerag neshu kumud musr, because we know that he did it b'mezid. We don't need the asra to explain that it was b'mezid, because we know it was b'mezid, because he's a soine. So the Gemara answers, Amalei ahu Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. There's two Rabbi Yossis. Our mission is what's the Stam Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chalafta, I think. And that's a different Rabbi Yossi. The Rabbi Yossi who says that you don't always need asra is Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda says, I'll bring you a raya that we're talking about Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda here and not the Stam Rabbi Yossi, because there's a brayz which says Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda chaver ein sarich asra if yishlein in asra lel havka mishagin meid. Rabbi Yossi Yehuda says that a chaver means a talmid chacham, someone who knows the halachas. Obviously, there's always been talmid chacham who are rishoyim. Didn't always go together. Yeah. You have a talmid chacham who knows that din. He knows that he knows that Yichai Misa for he knows Yichai Misa for Hariga, and he knows that Hariga is Asa. Hasra is only necessary to differentiate between Shoigig and Mezid, and in any situation where there's no need for that, so then there's taka no need for Hasra. And therefore by a Soine, who's also a Chaver, that's taka the chat. Yeah? If he's not a Chaver, then he could say, I thought it was Mutter. There's two elements to Hasra. To show you amazed that there's two elements. There's your kavana. Did you mean to kill him, or were you just playing around with a gun and you shot him? So if he's a soine, you've already dealt with that issue. You can assume. 1 second. And the second thing is that person might think it's mutter. So if you have the combination of the fact that he's a soine, so you know that his kavana was to kill, and he's also a chaver, so you can't say, I thought killing was a very kala or whatever. I didn't realize the severity of it. So when you have the combination of both. He's a chaver and he's a soine, so then there's no need for asra. That's the shit of Rabbi Yossi by Rabbi Yehuda. Our Mishnah Rabbi Yossi saying no, there's a din in asra. It's not to do with just to be differentiate between shoigi and mezid. Either there's other considerations, or I think even more mistabed. There's exeris akasa that you need asra. Al pishnaim edim, and the edim have to be masra, and that's Rabbi Yossi ber chalaf. So it's not a steer because it's two different Rabbi Yossis. Okay. Go a little further. Let's see Rashi. Is there Rashi? No. Or me, it's Rabbi Yossi Asra Klal. Yeah, we did Rashi already. Okay. Dover Acher. Right? Finally, in the end of the Mishnah, we said Dover Acher Pishnaim Edim Shalitis and Hedin Shemasim Piyam Turgumen. There's another pshat. Rabbi Yossi said Al Pishnaim Edim tells me that the Edim have to talk, meaning that the Hasra has to be through the Edim. Not sure exactly how he's learning it from Al Pishnaim Edim. Like there's no Yitur. Al Pishnaim Edim Lechora is telling me that Al Pishnaim Edim Yakum Dav, that based on their words is Yakum Dav. But it seems as if that you have to be doirish something from the words Al Pishnaim Edim. And according to the Tanakama, according to Rabbi Yossi, Al Pishnaim Edim tells me that the Hasra has to be Al Pishnaim Edim. And here we have another limud that they have to talk directly to the Dayanim and they can't be Maturgaman in between them. Yeah, what are you saying? What could have said what? Alidei Shnei Edim. Mhm. Right. Yeah, and you would know that you're talking about that testimony. Al Pishnai Eidim sounds there's an extra thing which has to be done through the mouth of the Eidim. Either maybe you have to see what Mepharshim say. That makes sense. Yeah, either that it's either that the Eidim have to be that masrin, or in the safe of the Mishnah, the Dava Acha, which is the halacha, that the Al Pishnai Eidim is telling me that the Sanhedrin, that the Eidim have to talk directly to the Dayanim. You can't have an interpreter in between. So let's see Rashi. Sorry, the Gemara. Dava Acha Pishnai Eidim Shleitis Sanhedrin Shemas B'Yatogim. So the Gemara. Just want to see if the Bach makes any significant change on it. No, Hani La'ozi Da'asu. There were foreigners who came in front of Rava, Kamed Rava. Oiki Rava Turgman Beinai. Rava set up an interpreter between them. So obviously there's a strong question. Hey, how could Rava do something in the first Mishnah? Not right. Why did he need a Turgman? So the answer is Pashat. Right? We know languages. You can understand the language sometimes, but you can't speak the language. So for the Dayanim, it's good enough for them to understand the language, because as long as the Eidim are talking, but the Meturgaman was necessary for the Dayan. In other words, you could have a Meturgaman there to interpret what the Dayanim wants to talk in his language. He understands Spanish or whatever, but he doesn't talk Spanish. He talks English, Yiddish, whatever. So he hears the Eidos in Spanish, and he understands. He doesn't need the Meturgaman for that. But you could use a Meturgaman if the Dayanim want to communicate to the Eidim or whoever to the Eidim in their language. That's what the Gemara answers it. Rava made have a amri. Rava Taka knew what they were saying. He didn't make him a Turgman because he didn't understand the Eidim. He understood their language. Vahaduri hu he didn't know how to respond. He didn't know how to speak the language, which is a very common thing. That people understand the language, they don't speak the language, and that's fine. Because the din of Pishnayim Eidim is just that the Eidim have to talk directly to the Dayanim, but not that the Dayanim have to talk directly back to the Eidim. Rashi Lozi Bali Lashon Achar Sheina Dayanim Akirim. At least that's what we thought it was. Maskan is that no, they were Lozi in that they spoke a different language than the Dayanim, but the Dayanim did understand the language. It's just that they couldn't converse in it. A few more minutes, we'll get to the Mishnah. This is not connected to the previous. So it's Tarek Beal White in this Ket of Gemara, but it's more shy to the previous Mishnah of Knimtze Karev Apostle. But yeah, Eloi V'Tuvia, Kreva the Arva. You have Eloi V'Tuvia. They were Eidim. They were Eidim on a halva case, right? They send you oven, borrow money from Shim, but they were Kreva the Arva. They were Krovim of not the Malva, not the Leiva, but the Orev, the guarantor, the person who promises that if Reuven doesn't pay back Shimon, I'll take the place. I'll pay instead. So Savara Papa Lamema, Papa thought to say Gabi Leiva Malva Rechikin. It's fine. It's okay because the main people who are the Bali din over here, the Malva and the Leiva, they're not related to the Malva and Leiva, and it's fine. So that's what Papa thought. As I swore that as long as Amir Hunabred of Yeshua or Papa, if Hunabred Yeshua said to Papa, how can you say such a thing? If the Leiva doesn't have money, what's going to happen? You're going to go to the Arev. So the Arev is very much a Baldin over here, right? The Eidim are Karev Lagabe the Arev, and the Arev could very well be involved in the story, and therefore he's a Baldin because if the Leiva doesn't have money, they're going to come to the Arev, and therefore if the Eidim are Karev to the Arev, it's no good. So that's yeah. It says Rashi Leiva Tuvia Eid Alva how you craving Ella Arev. Okay.